Welcome to Truth Behind History. Today, we're diving into the life and legacy of one of the most controversial figures in world history, Genghis Khan. Was he merely a ruthless conqueror, leaving behind a trail of destruction? Or was he a brilliant strategist who reshaped the world through innovation, military mastery, and governance? In this video, we'll break down his rise to power, the tactics that made him unstoppable, his impact on culture and trade, and yes, his darker, more brutal side. By the end, you'll decide for yourself, was Genghis Khan a tyrant or a genius? So, let's begin our journey into the Mongol Empire, where one man turned scattered nomadic tribes into the largest contiguous empire in history. To understand Genghis Khan's impact, we have to start with the sheer scale of his conquests. The Mongol Empire spanned over 11 million square miles, stretching from China to Eastern Europe. That's larger than modern-day Russia. But what made this feat even more impressive was that the Mongols weren't an established civilization, they were nomads from the harsh steppes of Mongolia. Genghis Khan didn't inherit an empire, he built it from scratch by uniting the Mongol tribes, who had spent centuries locked in bitter feuds. He forged powerful alliances and enforced strict discipline, turning fragmented clans into an unstoppable war machine. But brute force alone doesn't create an empire of this magnitude. Genghis Khan revolutionized warfare and governance, implementing a system of laws called the Yassa, which established order across his vast empire. His military strategies were leagues ahead of his time, relying on speed, deception, and psychological warfare to defeat even the most powerful civilizations. So, was he a barbaric warlord, or was he an unparalleled mastermind? To answer that, let's take a look at where it all began. Before he was the feared conqueror, he was Temujin, a boy born in 1162 near the Onon River. His early years were nothing short of brutal. Imagine this, his father, a Mongol chieftain, was poisoned by a rival clan when Temujin was just a child. But instead of inheriting his father's position, his family was abandoned by their own people, left to starve on the unforgiving steppe. With no allies and no resources, Temujin learned to survive through sheer willpower. He faced hardship, exile, and betrayal, yet he refused to accept defeat. Slowly, he built a reputation as a fierce warrior and an astute leader, gathering followers who saw him as the one to unite the Mongols. But simply uniting clans wasn't enough, he had to reshape Mongol society. He broke down tribal divisions, promoting people based on loyalty and skill rather than noble birth. This was unheard of at the time. His rise wasn't just about brute strength, it was about strategic thinking, patience, and the ability to inspire loyalty. And once he had the Mongols under his command, well, that's when the world would feel his presence. Now, Genghis Khan didn't just conquer cities, he dominated them with precision, efficiency, and psychological manipulation. His military strategies were so advanced that even modern armies still study them today. First, he mastered psychological warfare. He would send messengers ahead of his armies to spread fear, exaggerating the Mongols' brutality. Cities often surrendered without a fight, just to avoid annihilation. And when they didn't, he made an example of them, ensuring other cities wouldn't dare resist. Then there were his feigned retreats, one of the most deceptive tactics in military history. His cavalry, highly trained, lightning-fast horsemen, would pretend to flee in terror, drawing the enemy out of their stronghold. Once the enemy was lured into an open battlefield, the Mongols would suddenly turn back and ambush them from all sides. And perhaps most important was his merit-based system. Unlike European knights, who gained power through noble birth, Mongol officers earned their rank through sheer skill and battlefield success. This ensured that only the best and most capable warriors led Mongol armies, making them nearly invincible. This was warfare on a scale the world had never seen before. But war alone doesn't sustain an empire. What made Genghis Khan unique was that he wasn't just a conqueror, he was also a ruler. And to govern a massive empire, he needed laws. Now, ruling over an empire stretching from China to Eastern Europe is no small task. Conquering is one thing, but maintaining control? That requires laws, order, and a system that keeps everything running smoothly. Enter the Yassa, Genghis Khan's secret weapon for governance. The Yassa wasn't just a set of arbitrary rules, it was a comprehensive legal code that unified diverse cultures under one system. At a time when different regions had wildly different customs and laws, the Mongols imposed strict but effective governance across their empire. One of the most surprising aspects of Mongol rule was their religious tolerance. While many empires forced conquered people to convert to a specific religion, Genghis Khan allowed his subjects to worship freely, recognizing that controlling an empire was easier when you weren't sparking religious conflicts. But the Yassa wasn't just about tolerance, it also focused on meritocracy. Just like in the Mongol military, governance positions weren't handed out based on birthright, they were earned through ability and loyalty. This approach created a more efficient and stable government, ensuring that Mongol leaders were competent and committed to keeping the empire strong. So, while many think of Genghis Khan as a ruthless warlord, his legal innovations were actually far ahead of their time. But laws and stability weren't the only things the Mongols introduced to the world, they also transformed global trade. One of the biggest misconceptions about the Mongols is that they were simply destroyers. In reality, they revitalized trade, communication, and cultural exchange across Eurasia, creating an economic boom that changed the world. First, they expanded and secured the Silk Road, a vast network of trade routes connecting China, the Middle East, and Europe. Under Mongol rule, merchants could travel safely across thousands of miles without fear of bandits, allowing the East and West to exchange goods, ideas, and technologies at an unprecedented scale. Then there was the Yam postal system, an innovation that made long-distance communication incredibly efficient. Picture this, a network of relay stations with fresh horses and riders positioned throughout the empire, ensuring that messages could travel faster than ever before. This system allowed Genghis Khan to maintain tight control over his vast domain, making governance more centralized and effective. And let's not forget cultural diffusion. When people think of the Mongols, they often picture destruction, but they also spread knowledge, technology, and even cuisine across continents. Gunpowder, paper-making, and advanced Persian and Chinese scientific ideas made their way across Asia and into Europe, all thanks to Mongol rule. While the Mongols may have conquered through bloodshed, they also played a critical role in shaping global trade and communication. But their influence didn't stop there, it stretched into military tactics, politics, and even genetics. Few historical figures have left a legacy as widespread and enduring as Genghis Khan. His influence can be seen in everything from modern military strategy to governance and even in the DNA of millions of people today. Militarily, the Mongols inspired modern warfare tactics, particularly in terms of speed, mobility, and psychological warfare. The idea of highly trained, fast-moving cavalry influenced armies for centuries, and even today, military strategists study Mongol battlefield techniques. Politically, Genghis Khan's Yassa legal system laid the groundwork for later governance models, particularly in regions once under Mongol rule. His focus on meritocracy and law created a more structured and efficient administration, setting a precedent for future empires. And then there's the genetic legacy. It's estimated that millions of people worldwide carry DNA linked to Genghis Khan and his descendants. His empire was vast, and through intermarriage and conquest, his bloodline spread across Asia and beyond. The fact that his genetic impact is still visible today is a testament to just how massive and transformative his empire was. But for all his achievements, we can't ignore the other side of the story, the brutality. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, Genghis Khan's brutality. Yes, he was a brilliant strategist, but his conquests came at an unimaginable human cost. Entire cities were wiped off the map, and millions perished under Mongol rule. One of the Mongols' most feared tactics was siege warfare. Unlike nomads who relied only on cavalry, the Mongols became masters of engineering siege weapons, allowing them to breach even the most fortified cities. Once inside, they showed no mercy. For those who resisted, total annihilation. There are records of Mongol armies leveling entire cities, massacring entire populations to send a message, resist us, and you will cease to exist. Some estimates suggest that the Mongol invasions resulted in the deaths of over 40 million people, a staggering number for that time. And then there was psychological terror. Genghis Khan used fear as a weapon just as much as swords and arrows. He deliberately let survivors escape to spread stories of the horrors they had witnessed. This meant that when the Mongols arrived at the next city, people were often so terrified that they surrendered without a fight. So, while he created an empire that transformed the world, he did so with unprecedented violence. This brings us to the ultimate question: was Genghis Khan a genius or a tyrant? So, what do we make of Genghis Khan? Was he a brilliant ruler, a man who revolutionized warfare, governance, and trade? Or was he simply a ruthless warlord, responsible for the deaths of millions? There's no denying his strategic brilliance. He turned a scattered group of nomadic tribes into an empire that reshaped history. His military tactics, legal innovations, and contributions to trade made a lasting impact that can still be seen today. But at what cost? His unparalleled brutality left behind a trail of destruction, wiping entire civilizations off the map. His rule was one of conquest, terror, and bloodshed. Ultimately, Genghis Khan's legacy is one of contradictions, a man who was both a destroyer and a builder, a ruthless conqueror and a visionary leader. And perhaps that's what makes him one of the most fascinating figures in history. What do you think? Was Genghis Khan a genius strategist or a merciless tyrant? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, make sure to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos. We've got plenty more fascinating historical figures and events to uncover. Thanks for watching Truth Behind History, and see you in the next video.